Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on KPAX, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, I'm Dennis Bragg.
And I'm Jill Valley. The latest lawsuit over management of the National Bison Range is being settled, clearing the way for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to resume development of a management plan for the National Bison Range. Development of that comprehensive conservation plan is required by law. Ran into a snag a couple of years ago when the Public Employees for Environmental Responsibility filed suit. Pierre was particularly worried when the Fish and Wildlife Service began floating the idea that it might use a legislative transfer to turn over management of the 18,000-acre wildlife refuge to the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes. Pierre has repeatedly opposed the tribes playing a larger role in the bison range management. However, word comes now a settlement has been reached between FWS and Pierre, resolving the lawsuit and settling new deadlines for the management plan to be completed within the next 5 years. Pierre says some of its concerns were resolved last year when Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke stipulated the Interior Department would retain control of the bison range. But CSKT spokesman Rob McDonald notes that the settlement is actually silent on the question of the tribe's involvement, neither stipulating nor blocking the tribes from working with FWS. He says the tribes remain open to helping with the management plans and seeking participation in the bison range. Pretty dry day for the region, but there are some good chances of snow in the forecast this week. For more, let's check with Chief Meteorologist Aaron Yost. First forecast, Aaron.
See a little bit of snow and potentially rain-snow mix before we get there as we move into the next few days. Tomorrow, a strong cold front will track across the northern Rockies. We're going to start to see this radar filling up here overnight tonight. Notice off to the west, starting to see some green on the radar. That is rain. Those snow levels quite high. We've seen a mild day as a warm front has pushed through. Now that cold front will move throughout western Montana, starting in northwest Montana first. By the afternoon, moving through the southwest quarter of the state with dropping snow levels. Not anticipating a lot of accumulation, little to no accumulation expected, but we will see some scattered snow for Wednesday and Thursday. More details coming up.
In other news this afternoon, the family of a St. Ignatius woman missing for weeks continues their search for her. MTN's Augusta McDonald joins us live in the studio with the latest. Augusta.
Thanks, Jill. Dennis, the missing persons report was filed for 55-year-old Darlene Billy in December, but her daughter says they haven't heard from her since late October. Billy is originally from Mississippi, but has lived in St. Ignatius for years. In September, she went to visit her husband in North Dakota and never came back. Billy's daughter, Jalen Carpentier, says it's unlike her mother to fall out of contact for this long. She talked to her mom in October to tell her that she should come home for the imminent birth of her grandson. Carpentier has not heard from her mother since. Now, she says tribal law enforcement agencies and others are working on this case. It's unusual for the two to not be in touch for such a long period of time.
Her grandkids mean everything to her. You know, she wouldn't have missed the birth of my son for anything. It's just weird for her not to be in contact because my daughter was like her world. She cared so much about her.
The case has caught the attention of groups that advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous women in the United States. Back to you.
Darlene is described as 5'7". She's about 160 pounds. She has either black or gray hair and was last seen on the border of Montana and North Dakota. If you have any information, you're asked to contact the CSKT Tribal Police 675-4700. A Ronan middle school teacher resigns amidst an investigation into an inappropriate relationship with an 18-year-old student. Ronan Superintendent Mark Johnston says on January 16th, the administration was made aware of these allegations and opened up a Title IX investigation. But before it concluded, that teacher resigned. The teacher worked as a 6th grade English teacher at the middle school and was an assistant high school boys basketball coach for the Ronan Chiefs. According to Johnston, no criminal charges have been filed at this time. The Title IX investigation was incomplete due to the teacher's resignation. Jury selection is underway in the trial for the man accused of recruiting several women and girls for prostitution in Montana. Terrence Edwards is charged in U.S. District Court in Billings with 10 felonies related to prostitution. He is accused of recruiting at least 6 victims, including 3 minors, for prostitution from April of 2016 to March of last year. Prosecutors say the sex trafficking operation spans at least 3 states. Edwards was arrested in Billings after a 22-year-old Polson woman said Edwards forced her into the commercial sex business. The trial is expected to last 8 days. Attorneys for the Montana Artesian Water Company say it's ready to start bottling water soon. This announcement comes after the DNRC upheld a decision to grant the company permission to open that controversial water bottling plant in the Flathead Valley.
The line that's been, or the equipment that's been out there on site is ready to be assembled by the middle of February. That line should be fully assembled and ready to go into full production. So I would think within the next 30 to 60 days, you should have a product ready to market and sell.
The company has worked for more than 2 years to get state approval for the plant, which would draw water underneath the slough area along the Flathead River near Creston. The company wants to be able to pull the equivalent of more than 1 billion bottles of water using wells tapping into the groundwater every year. It was on Friday when the DNRC announced its findings in the case, saying it would uphold the decision to grant the company its permit, citing the company was able to prove that the operation would not degrade area water quality. Opponents, however, say they do plan to appeal that decision in district courts.
A number of groups are asking Ravalli County commissioners to back a request to cut the speed limit on the busy Woodside Cutoff Road west of Corvallis. The current speed is 60 miles per hour for the 2 miles immediately east of Highway 93, dropping quickly to 25 miles per hour as it nears Corvallis. But the Ravalli County Fish and Wildlife Association, the Teller Wildlife Refuge, and some homeowners would like to see MDT cut the limit down to perhaps 45 miles per hour. They're especially concerned about how busy the road has become in recent years, but also because of the traffic coming off and on the highway to reach the refuge and the FWP fishing access on the Bitterroot River. There have also been struggles on how to get a pedestrian walkway for that bridge. The groups are asking commissioners to consider writing a letter of support to MDT to lower those limits during their Tuesday morning meeting. Glacier National Park administrators are expecting park visits to stay at record level highs in 2018, and they're advising park visitors to have a plan B if they're hoping to visit Glacier this summer. 2018 was the busiest season on record at Glacier National Park, with 3.3 million people coming through the gates. That was a 12% bump over the previous record the year before, and comes even though most of the west side of the park was closed because of forest fire activity at the end of the summer. The high point came in July with more than 1 million tourists visiting the park in a single month, driven primarily by the increasing popularity of the Going to the Sun Road. Now park managers are saying they expect similar crowds this summer and say it would be a good idea if people visiting the park in June, July, or August have an alternative day trip plan just in case their original destination is beyond capacity. They say that's especially true if you plan on visiting North Fork, Mini Glacier, Two Medicine, Avalanche, and Logan Pass. The park is also advising visitors to consider spreading out to the abundant local, state, and federal lands around the park to find a quieter experience.
The Missoula Organization of Realtors will present results of a new study into affordable housing in the Garden City this week, taking a close look at the housing crunch that's put increasing pressure on working families and individuals. The survey is called Making Missoula Home, a Path to Attainable Housing. It looks at the current state of Missoula's housing market and ways to promote more affordable housing. MOR launched the survey about a year ago, hoping to find some reasons and possible solutions for the growing shortage of affordable homes. Since the recovery from the 2009 recession, prices have been climbing, while the supply of homes, especially in the sub-$300,000 price range, has been extremely tight. At the same time, most new homes that are being built cost more than $300,000, even $400,000. The study, involving partners and data from both the public and private sector, looks at not only the housing supply and prices, but also whether people are making enough money to afford the homes that are available. That full report will be released on Tuesday with a free public presentation at the Holiday Inn Parkside starting at 10 o'clock in the morning. A conversation today in the community. How do police in Missoula do their job? That is the basis for a talk tonight. Missoula Rises is organizing this community conversation. 4 panelists from different organizations will help lead the conversation based around police interactions in the community. The aim of the event is to create a safe space to talk about issues that might normally go undiscussed.
We feel as though there's an awful lot of sound bites out there, there's an awful lot of article sharing, there's an awful lot of reactivity in the world because there's so much happening politically, but precious little space to have real conversation with new information that people have time to process and think through. And so it's trying to create real dialogue where we take in new information and actually adjust our thinking and learn about things that we might not have known before.
That community conversation gets underway in just a few minutes at Homeward at 6:30. A big change is coming to the Western Montana Fair this summer. Handmade Montana is joining forces with the fair. It will change the location of the Made Fair to the fairgrounds. Now, this change of scenery will allow the event to go on for 6 whole days, all of which will take place in the commercial building at the fairgrounds. This added time should allow Montana artists to be more prominently featured during this summertime event.
So we like to create opportunities for artists in Montana and regionally to showcase what they make and directly interact with customers and our fans that support handmade local products, as well as just get to see all that's out there, maybe be inspired.
So you want to be one of the featured artists? You can go to the Handmade Montana website to get an application.
Just hours after a big haul at the Grammy Awards, country star Chris Stapleton announced 2 Montana shows as part of his new tour. He'll perform August 3rd at the Adams Center of Missoula and the night before at Metro Park in Billings. Tickets will go on sale February 9th. Stapleton won Best Country Album, Best Country Song, and Best Country Solo Performance at the Grammy Awards last night. You saw him right here on KPAX. And it's not just country music announcements today. Legendary rock artist Peter Frampton will be coming to do a show at the Wilma Theater on April 6th. Frampton was a true superstar at a very young age, breaking out with a Frampton Comes Alive. Everybody had that album in '76, producing multiple hits. It became one of the biggest selling live albums of all time. He continues to tour and record. Tickets for that will go on sale on Friday.
All right, still ahead, an FBI official says President Trump has accused of being politically biased. He's stepping down now. We'll have more on that still ahead here on KPAX.